come here the first time, I feel good, and I feel that I'm changed in my heart. Now, I don't know, I listen people, I learn to listen the others, I learn to trust in the others, I learn to have responsibility, because before I don't have much responsibility.
Often the stories that make it to the West about Romania are very negative and show the ugly parts of Romania, but Romania actually has much more beauty than ugliness. Though Ceausescu and the communists destroyed much of it, they weren't able to destroy all of it. They were busy with many things, and so lots of areas were left untouched, thank God. And we travel around Romania a lot and always get asked, why have we moved to Romania? Why have we left America to live here? And they're most disbelieving when we tell them where we live in Romania. They cannot believe that we would choose to live in the Jiu Valley. For most people in Romania, this is the poorest area of Romania, and most have never been here nor want to come here.
The Jiu Valley definitely is one of the poorest areas in all of Romania. Our town of Bucurat, of about 30,000 people, has an unemployment rate of 56%, and it is in some ways part of the darkest legacy and the most devastated ruins of a failed ideology, which is communism.
The concrete buildings and the architecture is very unsightly. So for us to bring kids up a chairlift 20 minutes onto the side of a mountain where they can hear running water and be on the mountain picking blueberries, be in the heart of nature, is incredibly transformative.
The economic consequences of communism are obvious, but the moral consequences run even deeper and even affect the economic consequences today. One of the things we focus on is we do orienteering with map and compass, and just as there's a pathway here, we talk about life as a pathway, and that your values is like setting the degrees on the compass, and that if the degrees on the compass is off, your life is going to be off, and you're going to end up lost out someplace in the woods. So the metaphorical value of a lot of the things we do in the program transfers very well to life. Communism systematically tried to breed distrust between individuals and even in families, and generated the lie that 1 out of every 3 persons was a securitati agent.
It's hard to have trust in people. People say one thing and they do another, because people were taught that in socialism. In socialism there was this Romanian concept, and it was found in other East European countries too, but the Romanians call it dedublare, being duplicitous, that you have to be one thing in public and one thing in private.
The Viata program, its principal goal is the imparting of positive values to the young people of the Jiu Valley, and we feel that that contributes to the sustainable development of this area.
The Jiu Valley, like other places in Romania, has suffered, I think, from 50 years of socialism in a certain way. Certainly the miners benefited to a good extent from socialism. They had high salaries, they had secure jobs, they were lauded in the socialist press, but it also gave people what Romanians call a fuga de răspundere, running from responsibility, that there is no very strong civic culture.
There's three things necessary for long-lasting development of moral personality, or whatever you want to call it. The 3 things are role models, which we provide through the leaders in the program. Another element is the experiential element of them actually experiencing themselves, trusting themselves and trusting other people. And the third part is actually a credible intellectual context, or a credible narrative within which these values make sense. We feel really great about our staff. It's a collaboration of American volunteers and Romanians who are actually paid, and we advertise all over Romania and choose the best and brightest from the whole country. The kids don't have heroes, and I think for the first time they're coming in contact with a person who they can really look up to and be a role model for.
Different strengths within each culture make for a more well-rounded program, and we have things to offer each other. And as a group of Americans and Romanians, we make a well-balanced team and learn a lot from each other.
In my experience, the best staff person, the best facilitator for this kind of work is someone who really has the ability to walk in someone else's shoes. And I always feel very privileged, and I think a good trainer is privileged to be part of someone else's learning and growing. And so it's having the ability to step back, to be very watchful, to be able to provide a mirror or feedback, to intervene if needed, to provide that word of encouragement. So I think a good facilitator will be watching for that, reading the group and finding what levels of challenge exist and encouraging people to move to the edge of that challenge, or that, whatever you want to call that, that learning zone. Sometimes I think it's a place where people are just a little uncomfortable, not wildly out of control, but a little uncomfortable, because that's where the learning happens. And a good trainer will know when to nudge, when to step back, when to challenge, and when to let go. What I really believe about adventure is that it has the power to change lives.
And what you see, what you've seen and what you see behind us are fun things to do. And that is part of why this is so effective, because people really enjoy themselves. They really have a great time when they're playing together. But behind it all is a philosophy of learning that involves staged, sequenced experiences that deal with certain issues that always happen in groups, such as building trust, building a way of working together, like norms for a group, and then experiencing those norms through the activities you use, and then taking that learning that happens, that inevitably happens when you're working as a group, back to the discussion that happens afterwards. What happened? Why did it happen? And what do we do with this after it's happened? And I'm sure that that's what they're doing. Each one of these groups is doing. They're going through a process of learning and growing together.
We believe the reason why this program works so well is that we didn't invent it. It actually goes back 50 years, and we're standing on a lot of people's shoulders. And we actually work with a company called Project Adventure, who pioneered this type of experiential education in America. It is simply a proven and effective tool for developing positive values in young people.
And if you employ more of the senses, you can see it, you can hear it, you can taste it and smell it, but if you do it with your hands and get your hands dirty, that's really when you feel it in your gut. And when you have that visceral feeling around, like, I'm really afraid, because I can feel it here. Think about anything that you've really learned to do in your life, and like riding a bicycle, for instance. You know, someone can tell you how to ride a bike, and maybe a parent or a friend held the seat, you know, the saddle, as you sort of began riding a bike, but it wasn't until you actually began riding the bike yourself and probably fell a few times that you got, aha, so this is how one rides a bike. And I think experiential work is the same way. It's that, aha, so this is how you do it.
The stories you read when your mind is young and your imagination is malleable have a very powerful effect on your life and influence. And also the stories that are prized by a society say a lot about that society, about their past and their future. One of Romania's favorite stories is about a shepherd who learns of his death prior to his death occurring and resigns himself to it, doesn't fight it. And we meet this resignation all the time in issues of injustice, and the lack of protest is striking sometimes. And so we have put together a 30-page journal of wonderful stories, some of which exemplify people like Rosa Parks and other heroes who didn't swallow the reality they were given, but fought it and fought for the good of others.
We are really helping kids rethink who their heroes are, who they want to become like, and forming these narratives. 80 to 90% of the people here are Orthodox, and the church in some ways is the guardian of morality, and to ignore that would be to ignore a tremendous resource for moral development. But also, in some ways, there's a more profound narrative in the sense of taking kids up into the beauty of creation, and you're exposing a lot of these young people who have just lived in dirty blockhouses and where hardly anything is growing around them, and exposing them to the power of creation and the beauty of God's creation. And there are transformative aspects to that.
Just based on my experiences up in Bistrica with the Peace Corps and the
the adventure education that I did up there made me realize how much of an impact it has in females' lives, especially with young females with a lack of confidence that tends to be reflected in just even in their schoolwork. Their attitudes change, their self-confidence changes. It's like they become this completely different person. They don't feel so suppressed, and they're not so hard on themselves and so preoccupied with issues like their weight, their body shape. It's like they're free to just be themselves.
I learned very much in the program the last year. It was very good for me. When I come back in the town, I trust more in me and each other. We learn how to be more good with the others, more understanding, and to have courage to say the things in front, not in back.
One of the things we do actually at the beginning of camp is the 50 or so kids are sitting there with the leaders, and I do the opening and closing talks, and I ask the kids, how many of you think that one person can make a difference in the world or in your community? And almost without fail, the maximum that have ever raised their hand is 4 out of 50 kids, and usually it's 0. And at the end of the week, after going through the program, we re-ask the question, we ask them to be sincere. How many of you feel like that one person can make a difference in their community down in Le Pen? And without fail, the kids' arms just shoot up, and it's really exciting. And the kids just come away really enthusiastic and really eager to grow and develop.
This is Awana, and Awana was in the program 2 years ago when we came to build it, and when I saw her I was just so pleased and thrilled. And in fact I was just wandering the course right now and I saw Awana leading her group on the flying squirrel, and it really just was wonderful to see that, you know, this former student is now a teacher. Just wonderful.
Yeah, I'm a teacher because Elsa learned me all those things 2 years ago. And when I came here for the first time, I was kind of selfish. I was thinking only at myself. And actually she opened my eyes. And now I'm teaching the campers what she taught me 2 years ago.
There's nothing more important in life than when you're young to having some healthy memories, and if you have enough of those healthy memories to guide you through life, that will be your salvation. We really feel like we're providing some of the healthy memories, positive experiences for young people in what is oftentimes a quite dark life down in the coal mining town of Le Pen.